So how did I, Iman, the troublemaker for the Islamist thugs, end up here in Canada? I graduated medical school. I finished my internship at around between 2000 and 2001. As soon as that happened, I looked for the specialty programs that have no training in Saudi Arabia, and anesthesia happened to be one of them. So I immediately applied for that program because I knew that due to the lack of specialty training in Saudi Arabia, that I would probably end up on a scholarship somewhere. I was hoping to come to Canada, and as such, I sat the medical qualifying exams in Saudi Arabia, and I passed, surprisingly. This is the program that your Conservative Party leader announced last week, maybe a couple of weeks ago, that he is very, very excited to reinstate should he win this coming election in October. I tried to reach out to Andrew Scheer on Twitter, as well as I tried to reach out to this doctor, Jacob Rad, I don't know. So I tried to reach out to him as well as to the doctor who was supporting this program, because I came to Canada on this horror show of a program. And I'll explain why. Because I'm being told, how can you be against it if it helped you get out of Saudi Arabia? I'll explain. This program is very biased against women. It favors Saudi men to come to Canada. My graduating class in medical school, actually, when we went into medical school, we were about 70 girls. We graduated 16, 6. Half of us quit from the harassment, and the other half had to stop because they got married or their families changed their minds or whatever. The number of boys that graduated from that same year that I graduated, the girls were 17, the boys were 700. So that gives you a little bit of an idea about the program that Andrew Scheer is very excited to bring back. In the article that you're going to find in the description, where Andrew Scheer doesn't say anything about how harmful this program is to you personally in Canada, as locals, as Canadians, people who require healthcare. It's also extremely unfair to your doctors and to your residents. He says in this article that it's amazing because these Saudi people, they come here and they live here for decades, and they go back to Saudi Arabia with a completely different aspect, and it changes their lives. And there's so many, it improves their lives. I went to medical school in Saudi Arabia. That's a lie. How can he even state this? Who did he speak to? Did he go and study medicine in Saudi Arabia and meet with the professors who graduated Canadian residency training programs? Did he attend the lectures to see how much hate they spew against you? And how they call you the kuffar? And how they hated every minute that they spent here, but they had to because they needed the science? Why is he focused on improving their lives? Not yours. For every one person like me who comes to Canada, at least three Canadian spots are taken away from physicians to sponsor one Saudi Arabian student or doctor who won't even stay to contribute to your healthcare. How is this a good program for you? I can tell you that I spoke to lawyers in the province that I'm in who even complained to me about this situation with this specific program. The Saudis who come here, we don't come here and are expected to follow your laws. We come here knowing that we are exceptional because we come here funneled through the Saudi dictatorship. I came here, I was sexually assaulted by a Saudi doctor who was training in the same hospital that I was training with here in this province. And the Saudi law was applied to me, not Canadian law. I complained about my assault. I spoke about my assault. I was scared in the beginning. And because I was scared, I was called a liar and a troublemaker by hospital administration and hospital officials. Women and men called me a liar. And when I actually did go to the police and file a complaint, I was shunned by the hospital administration because they were receiving their orders from the Saudi Cultural Bureau or Attaché and the Saudi Embassy. And even the hospital had to oblige the Saudi law. So my rights were completely violated in Canada because Saudi law was extended into Canada through this horrific program that Andrew Scheer wants to bring back. I was silenced, I was shunned, I was called into the Associate Dean's office and told to deal with it, and that I couldn't handle life. The Saudi man who assaulted me finished his program, was allowed to remain in training, was not shunned the way I was not expelled from the program the way I was, and he continued to practice while my life was destroyed. And after all of this, by the way, the Saudi Cultural Attaché sent me a $200,000 bill to pay them, because that's the amount of money that was wasted on me on the Canadian government. And they really wanted their money back. They wanted their money back after they expelled me for speaking of my sexual assault. Not harassment, sexual assault. This is the program Andrew Scheer wants to bring back. And let me give you an extra dose. The Saudi men, especially the men that come here, rape, steal, defraud, commit incredible crimes. And have you heard of any of them ever get arrested or punished? I wonder why this is. Well, it happens to be some of the higher-ups I've spoken to about the situation with the Saudis and with this program. The Saudi embassy immediately reaches out and interferes, even if they are arrested by the RC, even if they're in jail. They get them out on bail, their passports are confiscated, and they are shipped back to Saudi Arabia where they see no punishment. My medical career was ruined. The man who assaulted me is rich and living a fine life back in Saudi Arabia with the aid of your Canadian healthcare officials. Maybe this type of doctor who sexually preys on his patients, maybe this is the type of cultural diversity Andrew Scheer speaks of. Maybe these are the doctors that will be treating your children soon. Now, as your Conservative Party leader wants to reinstate the same program with the same theocratic Islamist dictatorship, really adds insult to injury to people like me. They call me, the Conservative Party. They won't stop. I've told them to stop calling me. I've emailed them to stop calling me. How insensitive. Asking me for donations, begging for money is disgusting. I now look at your supposedly strong, conservative female leaders that I once respected, who have suddenly seemed to have developed a case of a deaf ear, blind eye, and a closed mind when it comes to me. Yeah, I escaped to Canada through this program that Andrew Scheer is glorifying, but I also ended up losing everything because of this program. I ended up having to risk my life because I had to break the inhumane laws that are enforced through this program. And I had to do this in order to get status here. And unlike Andrew Scheer, I actually have a spine, and I did what was right. Had I returned to Saudi Arabia, I probably would have been arrested for the 4th time and executed because of violating Islamic Sharia. I'll never know, but I can tell you that I was not willing to risk it. The program, Andrew Scheer, and this, it's funny, this fat, bald car salesman of an MP guy, what's his name? Aaron O'Toole. They both love this program and they want to bring it back so much. I hear he's a strong advocate for Islamic relief, by the way. When people like me come from Saudi Arabia through this program, we pay 3 times as much as what Canadian residents or Canadian doctors who are entering these specialty training programs pay. And as such, we get priority to these spots. They're secured for us. No one else can take these spots but us. And I should probably tell you that that's just one program. You have other programs with Qatar, by the way, and other countries. So yeah, because of this program, Canadian healthcare officials continue to side with theocratic Islamic dictatorship laws like those of Saudi Arabia. The laws that expel women like myself when a problem happens, like the problem that happened to me when a fellow doctor, especially a Saudi male doctor, sexually assaults a female doctor. The irony of the Canadian healthcare officials as they are indirectly enforcing theocratic, medieval, dictatorship, Sharia law. What happened to tolerance? What happened to Canadians are such nice people? My voice and the voice of the thousands of women like me is a constant thorn in the side for Islamists. But unfortunately, what's happened now is because your leaders bend over backwards to Islamists, people like me have become a constant thorn in the side for your opportunistic wannabe leaders. I want to know why Canadians allow this, why Canadians remain silent, and why they remain fearful to speak up. You live in a democracy. I'm astounded by the amount of fear that is instilled in everyday Canadians that I speak to with regards to their government. You can remove this government and you install it. Why are you afraid? What are you afraid of? Because it's me and women like me who have something to fear, not you. The rest of you, I actually can argue that you have an obligation to protect your country from the extremist element that has completely infiltrated it, nonetheless protecting your government. With each passing day, it becomes clear to those of us who are okay and are willing to take in new information and new evidence and change our minds and our decision making based on the evidence provided to us, that your politicians have more or less sold their souls for Islamists. The article in the description for me is more evidence that the Conservative Party has lost its way along with its values. The conservatives, if re-elected, want to restore ties with Saudi Arabia. May I ask why? Is Andrew Scheer the more charismatic, less masculine version of Theresa May? And why Saudi Arabia? Why, after everything that happened with Saudi Arabia over the past few years, the aftermath of the diplomatic dispute and the way they reacted and how they pulled all their students out of Canada, sent them over to the US? Why? And the harm that they did to you, and the bullying that they did to you, and the harassment that they did to you. Why is Andrew Scheer looking to reinstate a program with an Islamist dictatorship that not only violates human rights, animal rights, children rights, but is notorious for violating women's rights? Why? I mean, why not improve ties with the United States of America, considering the liberals have been nothing but absolutely awful to them? I have an idea. I have a plan. We've put together a pledge. This pledge is a non-Islamist pledge, and it reads as follows. I, and the name of the politician, pledge to the people of the province of, and then the name of the province, and to the Canadian people, that I will, number 1, oppose any and all efforts by Islamists or similar extremist front groups, charities or other nefarious entities to influence, network, or work within any political party or branch of any government within Canada. Number 2, alert and support the expulsion of any political party members, elected officials, government staff, and media collaborators engaged in coordinated political entryism by Islamist front groups, their charities, or allied entities listed on terrorist watch lists by the following countries: Canada, the United States of America, the United Arab Emirates, Israel, India, Singapore, and the United Kingdom. The pledge is to be dated and signed by the person signing it, as well as 2 witnesses. Please contact your local MPs, your politicians, your aspiring politicians, your friend and your family. Print copies of this pledge and have it ready. We are in election prime time. They're going to be knocking at your door. Have a copy of this ready and present it to them to sign it with witnesses. And if they refuse to sign it, don't vote for them. There must be a zero tolerance for any Islamist entryism or any type of extremism to be accepted. And not just anti-extremism and anti-Islamists, but also there has to be zero tolerance for the opportunistic politicians who make excuses for these people and put us all at risk. So please, get as many politicians to sign this pledge. Thank you for speaking up.